Good day, everyone. Welcome to Tales from Tech Support subreddit with stories revolving around people getting help with a tech issue. With no further ado, let's get eargasm with rKush. Our first story of today's video was posted by Takes Me Bazooka with the title, "You Knew This the Entire Time?" So for context, I work at a medium-sized MSP. We primarily provide network, hardware, servers, and limited software support. If someone has a problem with Outlook, no prob. Your super specific real estate appraisal software, don't know a damn thing about it, let me call them. They pay these guys for software support just because it's more efficient for me to call them and get a solution in 20 minutes, supposedly, than spending 3 hours reinventing the wheel. My boss also prefers I don't mess with their software for liability reasons. If something breaks, he doesn't want us to get blamed. We've had this ongoing issue where their program runs like dog crap. I'm talking errors, crashing, freezing on every system at least every 15 minutes or so. It varies a little but has been getting progressively worse as the size of the database increases. So I've been working with the vendor trying to get this fixed. They've restructured the database, reinstalled programs, and blamed our network. Spoiler, it's not our network. I finally get frustrated enough to go digging. Verified firewall rules, dug through event logs, all that fun stuff. Well, you know what I discovered? They installed SQL Express 2008R and never updated it. I called up the vendor and the conversation was thus. Me. Hi, so I'm sure you can see this has been an ongoing issue for a while now with no resolution. I did a little investigation myself and it seems a lot of the errors we're getting are about SQL. Microsoft has documentation on it, but the update package is no longer available through their catalogs. You know, because the software is over a decade old. Vendor. Oh yeah, that may cause the problem. Here's a non-searchable article on our website about upgrading to 2017. Okay, wait a minute. You're telling me you guys have spent Check's Ticket about 16 hours working on this problem and knew the entire time? Vendor. Well, 2008 is what gets installed with our program, and updating to 2017 is out of the scope of our support. At this point, I could hear the toilet quietly running as our client flushed their money down the toilet to pay for these phones. Me. Just so we're being extremely clear, you knew outdated software was the issue. You knew that it got installed with your application in the first place. You and at least half a dozen other support staff. I don't dare call them techs. Never even thought to mention this? Vendor. That's just what gets installed with our software. Me. Alright, cool. Thanks for your time. Wrote up an email with what I found. Sent it off to my boss and the client. Waited patiently. Several minutes later, the client calls me. The little bit heated. The client. So they know the entire freaking time? It's been almost 2 months. Me. That's correct. Client. And they have an article on their website about it and they never sent us. Me. Yup. Client. I'll call you back in a few. Several minutes later, I received an email from the client with my boss and everyone in Kingdom Come CC'd. Spoke with Total. They say they would be happy to update their database. I would prefer that you do that if at all possible. Reply. Yep, no problem. I love contracts. Well, I hope your client is also making plans to switch vendor because screw those guys. They are practically selling broken software to their customers. That's practically illegal. Our next story of the day was posted by RocketProcket21 with the title IT Adventures That Really Butters Your Muffins. Customer. I can't get my screens to work. They're all black. I took my laptop home and the battery died over the weekend. Me. Okay, no problem. Are you currently working from home or are you in the office? Customer. I'm in the office today. Nothing works. Everything is crap. Goes on the tangent. Me. I'll assist you with all your issues. Are you currently connected to a docking station? Checks VPN. VPN is good. Runs GP updates. SFC scan now. Checks software updates. Needs a million of them. Informs customer. It does look like there are quite a few updates to install. This will take some time. Is there anything else you can do in the meantime while I work on this in the background? Customer. Begrudgingly sighs. I suppose I can. I'm working off my iPad and I need you to get this fixed ASAP. tab. Me. No problem. I work on these issues as fast as possible. Informs the customer of the steps I'm taking and how long they will take. About 30 minutes goes by, updates are still installing, multiple PC restarts have taken place, and the customer is getting extremely antsy. Customer. Any progress? I needed you to fix this like yesterday. Me. I'm still working on the issues. We will have to perform a few more restarts for the updates to install properly. Once those are complete, we will also have to disassemble the docking station and power cycle it since the other monitors are not displaying properly. Customer. Oh my god, you are slow. Just fix it already. Me. About 15 minutes into the call, technically making progress so it's not an escalation. Okay, I need you to restart your machine, connect it to the docking station, then proceed with plugging the power cord back into the docking station. All steps are performed. Customer. What the hell? My screens are still black. You didn't fix it. Oh wait, I see the taskbar on all the screens, but they're still all black. Me. Explains that our version of Bongo blacks out the screen to protect the customer's privacy. Customers. Oh, okay, that's still dumb though. Also, why did my phone change? What did you do with those updates? The text looks different and I don't like it. Me. Verified everything else is running as it should. It is. It could have been due to the software updates. I can take a look into the phone settings and change them for you. Customer. No, it's fine. You took long enough. Hangs up. Me sighing in the background. No problem. Glad I fixed all your problems, but now you want to get crappy over how the tech looks on your screen. Sounds like some afternoon drinking is in store. You know what, guys? I think it's a thankless job. You fixed it and that's all that matters. You get the customers who appreciate IT and you get the ones who just suck. Let them go. It's a win and move on. Moving on to the next story posted by iProx False X, a regular who just doesn't learn. Hi, so today's story is a bit of an odd one as it isn't finished yet. So I work for an estate agency company, not gonna say which, but there's one user who repeatedly calls. Let's call her RV for the sake of her identity. But anyway, each day, without fail, we receive a call from her. Within the last year, she has 316 records logged. That is more than the number of days we have worked in the past year due to weekends and times off. And she calls more times than that to chase them. It has gotten to the point where I and the boys on the help desk have started to joke about the things she calls for. For instance, on one occasion, RV called us to ask us how to put a property on our system. Need I remind you, she's an estate agent who should be putting properties pretty much daily. Another example of a stupid call from her was she asking how to access her emails. You know, a simple fix. I asked her what she has done so I know not to repeat any of the troubleshooting as it just wastes time. She said she restarted and she did this, that and the other. I connect to her machine and well, you guessed it. She hadn't clicked the icon. Dear Lord, she had expected the app to open itself. Now for her most recent escapade. She called up to ask us to call a member of the public who was selling a property through us to help him with accessing his emails. We aren't calling a member of the public to fix his emails. He would need to speak to his own IT support. Yeah, but he needs to access the email I just sent him. Look, we are the supporting internal IT. He can access his emails. Cool. Good for him. We do not support him. He would need to speak to his own company. I asked you to call him. Let me put you on hold to speak to my manager. The manager said that I was in the right. As I said, I can't speak to him as he has to sort it himself. It's his problem, not yours or mine. I cannot call him. You have got to be serious. Hangs up. Me. Checks call queue to see she immediately called back. Also I. Request her call to tell her the same thing. Also me. Repeats the last two steps till she stopped calling about a member of the public not being able to access his emails. I only have one question after reading this. Why is she not blacklisted yet? The last story of today's video was posted by Joe Dunfan with the title, Whole Body's Nerfect? I worked for a large local computer company in the early 90s. I originally worked in the configuration department. Then, when I had orthopedic surgery, I was moved to the tech support phones while I recovered. Turns out I was pretty good at that, so I was put there full time. I took a lot of pride in my work. A lot of customers liked me and I liked them. One day, at about 2:30 or 3 on the Friday afternoon, I was on the phone when I felt my team leader hovering over my shoulder. I was wrapping up the call, so he waited waited for me to finish. And as soon as I hung up, he told me our boss needed me in his office. The look on my face must have been great because he told me I wasn't in trouble, but I needed to go there ASAP. When I arrived, I found our boss with his boss, a VP, and the phone was on speaker. They introduced me to the voice on the speakerphone. It was the regional vice president for a big computer manufacturer, and Mr. Regional Vice President said to me, "Boss and VP tell me you're the best at dealing with difficult customers." It seems my bosses had gotten good feedback from the people I had been dealing with on the phones, so I was picked for this special job, which was, my company had just sold about 250 computers, monitors, and NICs to another company. Let's call them X. The regional VP of big computer manufacturer had just been called out for a meeting to endure the CIO of X yelling at him, saying the computers they had bought were crap. The NICs they bought was crap. Nothing was working. Everything was going to be sent back to my company, and everybody was going to be sued. Honest, this is not hyperbole. My company had sold these computers to X, but they didn't ask for anything to be done to them. No configuration, and not only that, they were installing the NICs and putting the CPUs on the desk themselves. They were moving offices, you see, and they're moving gifts to their employees with new computers for the new office. I think everybody except for the CIO of X could see 250 computers not working had to be due to something X had done, but customers, you know? Also, no pressure on me. I was authorized for any OT needed, and regional VP gave me the personal phone numbers for about a dozen of their top-tier tech support people who would be able to help me with any issue I might have. My bosses gave me their home phone numbers as well as the personal phone numbers for our best network guys, and my Friday night drinking plans were put on hold. Also, this site was in another state, about an hour drive on a good day and 2 or more hours during rush hour, but at least I was on the clock. I headed to the customer site. I arrived at just about the time I would normally be sipping my first beer at the bar, and I called the number I had been given for CIO's right-hand man, Tim, who opened the door and greeted me. He was a guy who looked like he has just graduated from the local community college, which was exactly what he was, as I later found out. He explained the situation to me, and it was that none of the computers were connecting to the network. Not a one. The printers, however, were, as far as they could tell, as they could send stuff to them from the servers. The NICs all had a heartbeat, so I thought cabling and everything were okay. My concern was the server configuration itself, as I was not a network guy. I was good on DOS, but if I had to go server side, at least I had a ton of phone numbers to call. Then I realized I didn't have a login prompt. Back in the DOS 5/Windows 3.1 days, there were two really useful, really important files that pretty much set up your computer to work. One of them was config.sys, but that wasn't an issue. The other was autoexec.bat, and that was what I concentrated on. For those of you who don't know, autoexec.bat is a batch file, and all it does is run a batch of commands, one after the other, and the damn near universal first line in autoexec was echo off. This line meant that you wouldn't see the commands being run in the autoexec.bat until you got to the last line, and that last line was a damn near universal login command, which we weren't seeing. So I read through the autoexec, then read it again, and I realized the autoexec.bat had a line that referred to a second batch file. The autoexec did just what it was told. It ran a few commands, then ran the second batch file, then everything stopped when the second batch file finished what it had to do. Tim was looking over my shoulder. "Tim," I asked, "who gave you this autoexec?" "The CIO," he answered. Yep, the person who had called up big computer manufacturer and pulled a Karen on them. I copied the autoexec.bat to autoexec.old, just good practice, and edited the original, adding call space in front of the second batch file, saved it, rebooted, and was rewarded with a login prompt. I moved over and asked Tim to log on. He logged on successfully, and I explained what had happened, why he made sure he could access the network and its resources. On the second machine, I showed Tim the edit to make. It checked out. He tried it on the third, and after logging on, he leaned back in his chair and said, "We need to tell the CIO." We headed toward her office, and when we arrived, we saw she was in the office with someone else. Tim stopped short. Can you wait out here? That's the president of the company. No problem, bro. Just point me to a phone so I can give my boss a sit rep. While Tim talked to his bosses, I talked to mine, who just sighed and told me he'd call everyone else to let them know and I should let him know when I was leaving. I stepped back into the hall and Tim waved me inside, where I gave the president and CIO the story. He was interested and asked some good questions, while the CIO looked mortified. His final question was, "Is this the only thing needed?" I answered that from what Tim tells me, this is it. Tim knows this network better than I, and if he thinks that's it, then I think that's it. The president looked a silent question at Tim, who just nodded, then asked me how long it would take to edit the remaining workstations. I thought for a minute, then realized I could make a boot diskette that we could use in the machines, pop it in and let the disk do the work. How long will this disk take to create? He asked. Honestly, the longest part was formatting the bootable diskette and making multiple copies. Back then, you could edit any new text file with the command copycon filename.ext on the fly. The autoexec.bat on the diskette would delete the bad autoexec from the workstation, then copy the working autoexec.new on the diskette to autoexec.bat on the workstation. Pop the diskette out, reboot, and watch your beautiful new login prompt on the workstations. He nodded. Okay, let's do this. Can you come back tomorrow? I nodded. Do you mind if I call your boss? Tim, get him some disks and we'll test them on a couple of workstations. If it works, we'll come back tomorrow and finish up. It's been a long freaking day. He then called my boss while I made some diskettes. Tim tested them. I called my boss before leaving and told him the plan, and he told me I could spend all weekend there if I wanted to. I was on site the next morning at 9 a.m. as agreed. In the meantime, Tim, the president, and the CIO had already fixed about a fourth of the machines with my diskettes. They asked me to stick around to help out with some busy work, which consisted of me and Tim chatting while breaking down the boxes for all of the stuff they bought. This is where I also learned the CIO had pretty much been working for 3 days straight on no sleep, so I can't fault her for missing those 5 characters. Finally, the busy work was to give the pizza and beer time to arrive. In the end, I got nice thank you notes from the president and CIO of Axe, and the VP of big computer manufacturer placed in my file. Axe signed a nice support contract with my company. Tim turned into a pretty good friend, and I was Employee of the Month for a $100 bonus. Kudos to the tech guy for his great work. One lesson we can get out of this story is that the real bonus was the friendship we made along the way. Of course, the 100 extra is pretty nice, right?